Morning, my dear viewers, and a very warm welcome to the first episode of the Today's Woman Show in the year 2015. Of course, it means I've got to wish you a happy new year. A new year, so new beginnings. I'm sure people have made New Year's resolutions, and that's what we're going to be talking about today in the show. On the show, actually, not in the show, on the show. Now, before we get started, as always, I have a quote for you. Some things don't change, and that's the quote I have for you. And it's from Benjamin Franklin. And it reads, "Resolve to perform what you ought. Perform without fail what you resolve." The Today's Woman Show is brought to you by courtesy of Anoa Lovely Baby Diapers, Queen's Pride Perfume Rice, No Substitute, and Next Sheet Hair Product for the hair of your life. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Today's Woman Show. If you want to join in this conversation, please go to our Facebook page, Today's Woman on TV3, or follow us on Twitter. Now, I did mention to you that we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions, and to help me do that, I have the lovely Comfort Ocran from Legacy and Legacy here with me in the studio. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
You and I are going to have a conversation about New Year's resolutions. Now, I've made many resolutions over the years. I've never kept to them. What is a resolution, really?
Well, Audrey, I am sure I can challenge you to say you may not have realized you kept some of them, but you did keep some of them. So resolution is simply deciding to do or not to do something. It's the resolve or the idea or the concept that I have decided that I'm going to start doing this, or I'm going to stop doing something that I've been doing over the years.
Why do people say a New Year's resolution? Is it because it's the beginning of a new year, so they're thinking of doing something new in a particular year? Because you could start a resolution at any point in time of a year, can't you?
Yes, you definitely can. But you see, the why we tend to hear an increase, quote unquote, of resolutions is the fact that you see the end of something going, and then there's something a new opportunity. So since they think of the new year as a time of new opportunities, and then there's this particular concept that I saw some time ago, whereby every year we all know we have 365 days, and sometimes you look at the end of the year, you say, I wasn't able to achieve anything this year. I mean, this year has been a waste. But then you resolve that coming year is a new opportunity to do it all over again, and therefore I'll take the upcoming year to resolve to do things in a particular manner. Actually, most of the time is to resolve to do things better, or to improve on what I had done the previous year, or to get to another level.
So basically setting new goals for yourself.
Setting new goals for yourself, and it's a good practice. It's a good practice. The only things that sometimes we tell ourselves, even before we start, we do the resolution, that I'm not going to keep it. And so it kind of defeats the purpose of trying to have a resolution.
But don't you think that most people don't really keep their New Year's resolutions?
It depends. It depends. What is the resolution that you want to do? For instance, if you did say that I want to be more health conscious, I mean, this year, it may lead to you deciding that there are certain things that you will stop doing, like, let's say, sleeping late at night, and then you may decide that, okay, I may exercise a little bit more. Maybe you were not able to exercise every single day, but you are still able to do some exercise, which otherwise you may not have done at all. So yes, people may not follow through consistently, but at least the start is there,
and the practice of doing it is good.
And the practice of doing it is good. And therefore, I would encourage anyone and everyone who did make some New Year resolutions as well done. But let's keep at it. Let's keep working at it, and not think of it as something that must be done
rigidly
in 2 days, and therefore if I don't do it in 2 days, then I failed. If I failed, then that's it, and so you don't try it again.
I wouldn't say New Year's. Would you say New Year's resolutions were gender based? Is it something that women tend to do a lot more, or men tend to do a lot more? I mean, what would you say?
No, actually, whilst I was getting ready for this particular program, I looked up at the history of resolutions, and I realized that since time immemorial, the Wikipedia was saying about 4,000 years ago, people were doing New Year resolutions. So it's not something that is new new with us. It's something that has been going on over the years, and it's gender neutral. because everybody would like to see some improvement or something go out, something negative or something that is inimical to their progress, leave their lives, and something that is something that is good to their progress, be inculcated in their lives. So it's something that's both men and women, both young and old, do it. And doesn't matter, you can't say that because I am 80 years. I, for instance, like this thing whereby Dr. Otabel about last year was saying that, okay, all of you add 20 years to your life and start planning for your next 20 years. And so some of you have about 60, so you're like, I'll be 80. Do I want to look that far into the future? But yes, that's what resolution is. It doesn't matter how old you are. You still can plan for your life. You still can project into the future and try and make something better out of
the life you have.
Yeah.
Now, take for example a viewer who's watching now and is saying, a New Year's resolution, that would be a good thing to do. What goes into making a resolution? Do you need to sit down and say, these are the positives of my life, these are the negatives of my life, this is what I want to do? What do you think goes into making a resolution? Well, here you are, you have a fantastic life, you've had a good life so far, you've had a bad life so far, it doesn't matter. The main thing is that you would have to first, the thinking process. Thinking, because it's been found that whenever we just jump into anything without taking time to pause, to think it through, to think about what is feasible and what is possible and what is attainable and what is a dream, we go full steam and then we just stop short. So we first have to do the thinking process, which is to sit down and then take, whether it's a pen and paper, whether you are high end, like having a PDA, a personal recording device or whatever, or you just have a plain
something
you're very comfortable
pen and
with,
paper,
putting your mind to. Yes.
So just take that and then look. I would say that don't just make a New Year's resolution, but decide for a plan, a life plan. So I believe that you may have, let's say, a 20-year or a 10-year plan or a 5-year plan. So you decide, okay, as part of your 5-year plan, you've decided that I would like to build a house in 5 years' time or in 10 years' time. But I'd like to find out if the house that you intend to do, you have started the process of acquiring a piece of land, or you have started putting aside some money towards it. Let me wax biblical a little, but Luke 4:14-28 says that which man desiring to build a tower does not first sit down and count to see if he has enough to be able to build it. Before, when he starts, people laugh at him because he's not able to complete. So first sit down and say, what do I want to do? My 5-year plan, my 10-year plan, this is what I want to do. So for 2015 or for this year, what would I like to do that is a step towards
your
accomplishing that 5-year plan. Okay. So you look at it in various, you take your life, various aspects of your life, depending on who you are, because somebody is a CEO, somebody is not a CEO, somebody is a restaurant manager or whatever. So what do you want to accomplish in your career? What do you want to accomplish in your spiritual life? What do you want to accomplish in your, if you're married, marital life? If you're not married, in your social life or in your volunteer life? What would you like to see happen in that particular space in your life? So that is what we call, what some people call the horizontal. So you look at the various aspects of your life and you say, okay, so in this part, this is what is going to happen there. In this part, this is what is going to happen there. In this part, this is going to happen there. In this part, in my financial life, this is what is going to happen there. I'm going to save some more and I'm going to get out of debt if you're in debt. So you've done the horizontal plane. So now you take
it vertically,
the vertical look, and say, okay, so I say that I'm going to, for instance, my financial plan, I'm going to save a little bit more and I'm going to reduce the debts that I have in that particular place. How is that possible? It is a resolution, but how is that possible? Do I need to get another job? that would not require so much of my time, but will still give me the flexibility? Or do I have to do investment? If I'm going to do investment, where? You know, so then you break that life, that particular part, the vertical part, into projects. Which of the projects are immediately feasible? Which ones will depend on the completion of project 1 to do project 3? So you see that you take your time and then plot it all out. Sometimes people will say, that's a lot of work. Can I?
Now, is planning the same as making a resolution?
Planning,
or it's part of it? Or
Planning-
resolution is part of your
the resolution is the first stage. The planning is what gets the resolution accomplished. So it's good to make the resolution, which is the thought, the concept, the idea, the intention. But to accomplish that intention, you need to do the planning.
Now, how important is it for us to make realistic resolutions?
If, for instance, you have a difficult client, and at this particular time, usually you say, oh, the client said, but this time you were at fault. So in order to recover that client, you have to make either a call or to visit the person, or maybe do some gift to send to the person. You know how you dreaded it? Because you know how the person is, and then when you call the person, was the person received you nicely, and the person said, oh, no problem, actually here's my next order. How did you feel? Fantastic. So that is how making realistic resolutions is. The fact that you've been able to accomplish one gives you a high and gives you the impetus to try and accomplish the next one. If, however, the goal or the resolution that you make is so high in the sky, I mean, it's totally unattainable, you feel so demoralized, worthless. You know, you can think of all the adjectives you like to put over there, and therefore you don't get the urge to try and do something else. And therefore it is extremely important that when you are making your resolutions, you make them that's something that is attainable, something that is realistic, something that you can look back on and say, I wanted to accomplish this. I knew I had 10,000 cedis in my bank account. There was no way I could have achieved 1 million. But then I know that with 50,000 over 12 months, if I'm able to save well, because I've been able to get 10,000 so far, and I got it in 3 months. So now I know that at least I can do 2 months and get that 10,000 and double it. That makes it more realistic, and you're able to give yourself a pat on the back when you achieve them. Okay.
Now, do you think that it's important for us to put timelines to our resolutions?
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
Why is that, though?
Where you have a resolution that is boundless, timeless, you can't hold yourself accountable. You can't hold yourself to any deadline and say, well, I said I'll try and do this by this time. And so if you're doing a 1 year, if you're doing a resolution that I should be able to accomplish this by March, you know that, well, I have to be able to accomplish it by March so that in June I'll be able to do that. For instance, you want to go to school. If there's a deadline to the applying for that particular school, and you don't get the your application in by March, there's no way you can say that you are going to school in September. Because you didn't apply. So you have to meet and keep your deadlines. Give yourself realistic timelines, and then also you're able to tell yourself that I said I should do this by this time. Can I realistically say that I have been able to do that? Check. No, I haven't completed it. So do I need extra time? And therefore you give yourself more time to be able to accomplish it. I mean, and so you're able to track your progress. You see, it's see it, desire it, and then set the goals that are needed for it, and then build it. The action point is sometimes a missing link in our
It's the action point.
It's the action point.
Okay, we're going to talk about those action points when we come back. We have to go for a short commercial break.
Definitely.
Okay, viewers, stay with us. For those of you who've joined us, we're talking about New Year's resolutions, and if you're live today and you're watching the Today's Woman Show, there's plenty to be grateful for. So today we're trying to teach you, or we're trying to share with you the ways that you can make 2015 even better for you. I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors, and there are Noah Lovely Baby Diapers, Queen's Pride Perfume Rice No Substitute, and Next Sheen Hair Product for the hair of your life. Of course, with me, I have Mrs. Comfort Ocran from Legacy and Legacy. Now, you did mention about action points just before we went on the commercial break. Tell us a little bit expand a little bit on the action points.
Well, anything that every thought, Ralph Waldo said that every thought is an ancestor of an action. Every thought is an ancestor
of an action. Okay.
So we have
beautiful.
Yeah, it is. So we have actions that started with a thinking process.
Of course.
So we have done the thinking process, and you remember 100 years ago when we were in school, we were told that if witches were horses, beggars would ride. If you think of something that is nice to do, or nice to have, or nice to inculcate in your life, and you don't
build upon it,
build on that thought, you would be a beggar all your life. You would have the nicest resolutions that you can think about, and there'll be nothing to show for it. It will just be in your head and not on the ground. We will not have a Today's Woman because you have thought of it for so many years. You say, no, we don't want 100. Okay, so let me say 10 years. You've thought of it for the past 10 years. I would like to have a Today's show. I would like to have a Today's Woman show. And you've not actually come down to TV3 studios and say, look, this is the concept that I have. This is what I believe the thing can accomplish. This is what I hope we should be able to do it at the end of the program. And nobody has said, okay, well, we have these slots available, which one will be best for your program? And therefore you start looking for speakers or for...
Basically, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
So let's put all the things that we have to do, all the things, all the resolutions, all the thoughts that have run through our mind
on paper.
On paper. And then let's see, is this something that is feasible?
We can prioritize them.
Is there something that is feasible? Yes. We put in the yes, so we have the yes pal. The ones that are not no, we put in the no pal. So let's take the no pal, is very easy to deal with. So which of these are definitely not on? Okay, so you trash those. Which of these are possible sometime in the future? Okay, so you put them in the maybe bin. So you can visit them every now and then, and then so you sort it out quickly like that and leave it. So then we come to the yes pal. So you have the yes pal. You look at it and say, okay, which one can I do in 2 minutes? The ones that you can do in 2 minutes, now, just do it and then just let it get out of the way. The ones that you can do in 2 hours, in 2 minutes, sorry, so then you take them to, can I get someone to do it for me? Because, for instance, if you want to make a donation to an orphanage, you don't necessarily have to go yourself. There may be a friend of yours who is piling up things to send to an orphanage, or then there's somebody in your office that you can ask the person to take it unless you want the photo op. But if you don't need a photo op, there's somebody that you can delegate that action to go and do it. So then you tell the person that kindly take these items and send it to this particular place, or put it at part of your orphanage. So you can delegate it to somebody to do. Now there are things that you have to do yourself. Then that's when you build the projects out of those. So it's only the things that you have to do yourself, and you can build the projects out of. Then you sit down and say, okay, what is the cost involved? What do I need to get this done? Is there anything
time-wise, money-wise?
Money-wise, you look at all your resources that you need to get to be able to do that, and what are the timelines that you need to put on that, and then you get that done. So it's possible for us to, and this you do your review, and you start acting on them after you have gone through that, sifting process.
Now, if, for example, I decide that because I'm sitting here, as I mentioned at the beginning of the show, it's 2015.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no resolutions this year. Does that make me weird?
It may not make you weird, but I would like to see at the end of the year what you would have accomplished. Because every year you should have something that you would like to see happen in your life. Otherwise, you just go from day to day, and you got up, dressed, went to work, and then sat down, answered some emails, did Facebook, and then came back, because there's nothing that you are working towards. Okay, so but it's not that you are weird. It's just that you don't have anything working towards. So you can't look back at the end of the day, at the end of the year, and say, oh, I said I'll do this and I'll do this and I'll do this. I've been able to do 5 out of the 8. 3 are still in progress because they are leading to next year's progress, and so on and so forth. So no, you will not be weird, because there are several people who do that anyway. So you will not be weird, but then you will not be able to
at the end of the year to say that this is what I've done.
This is what I've been able to do.
Now, are resolutions meant to be secret, or can you make public your resolutions?
It depends on the individual. Some people need reinforcement, so they would share their resolution with someone. Some people too, they are quite they are like the athlete who have set themselves a goal, and therefore they work towards taking down that second that second, that extra second they want to get out of the way, so they are able to keep their resolutions in mind and work consistently towards it. So both of them, both parties are good.
Would it be wrong if I said I don't have New Year's resolutions, but I have plans for 2015?
That's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. The main thing is that the resolution is to say, I want to do this. I resolve to do that. So it's your plans for the 2015 are fantastic. Just make sure that we are able to solve them out, and we are able to work consistently towards that.
And I also like what you said, because I mean, we all plan. Everybody plans on a daily basis, even if it's just to go to the market, to do whatever it is. People are planning. I like what you said. It's writing them down, because once you're writing them, that seed sort of takes root by you actually writing your plans, and you can always go back and refer to it and say, this is my plan, this is what I want to do. Have I, from time to time, revisiting it, have I been able to achieve it, have I not been able to achieve it? Now, do you think that I could, somebody has to help me make a New Year's resolution, or I can make this individually and resolutely?
That's an interesting question, because let me spread it out. What if this is a family?
Okay.
And therefore, whatever resolutions that you make has an effect on the family. On the family, and therefore, yes, there are certain resolutions that are individual based. There are some that are group based.
Okay.
And therefore, you can plan within the group, or you can plan as an individual. Depends on who your resolution would affect. If it affects only you, then you
it's just your plan.
It's just your plan.
But if you are resolving with the family, for example, you decide that with the family this year we're going to save money, so you need to pull everybody along together.
Exactly.
Less takeouts, less wastage.
Exactly.
So you've got to do that, and then you have to sort of unitedly, resolve
that we'll take less drinks and that kind of stuff.
We'll drink more water and less sodas.
Exactly, and we'll do more walks.
Instead of using the car, now we have VAT on petrol.
Exactly. So it depends.
So you can make them individually. You can make them as a family, in a group,
or as an organization. This is what we're going to do from next year. This is how we are serving our clients, and so you go take them through the planning process and so on and so forth.
So making resolutions are first step to making the plan actually actualize, isn't it?
Yeah.
Interesting. Now the cameras went to town, so it would be, let's see what people had to say about their New Year's resolutions.
My New Year's resolution is to stop blaming the government for everything that happens in our country, and to also take responsibility for everything that happens in our country, Ghana.
My New Year resolution will have to be to know God a little more, because this year I haven't really been in a very good relationship with God, so probably next year I want to get closer to God. That's my New Year resolution.
I'm a Muslim, and our New Year passed last month. It is not the normal 2014-20. We use the lunar month for our years, and 2014-2015 is the New Year. So we don't really focus. We don't really talk much about it being a New Year because we don't see it as a New Year.
I have heard about New Year resolutions, but I really don't believe in those things because I tried it once. I made a list of things that I thought I wanted to improve or discourage, but then as the new year started, I couldn't fulfill those wishes. So I thought, why should I continue writing resolutions I can't do? So I just don't do anything about it.
I don't make New Year resolutions because plans do change all the time, and when you set a plan you don't really meet the target. So I think anything that comes my way I just hit it. So I don't make New Year resolutions.
I set up a couple of them. I try to write down certain things I would want to do for the coming year. Another one I'm thinking of is going back to school and being a mouthpiece for younger women coming up in terms of entrepreneurship, like my sister's clothing line, marketing it for her, and me coming up greatly with my line of neck pieces.
Usually when the year is about ending, I decide on what to do the next year. I decide to stop certain behaviors that I think were not helpful during the last year. So for instance, last 2 years, I decided that in 2014 I wouldn't tell a lie, and by the grace of God I was able to accomplish it.
No, I do not make New Year resolutions because it's very hard to follow through till the last one, and then I feel like, okay, somewhere along the line in the year, if there's something I did wrong that I have to change, I would gladly do it. But the New Year resolutions, no.
Okay, no, I normally don't make New Year's resolutions because they're normally hard to keep up with during the year, because you make them and then at the beginning of the year you feel so hyped, but as the year goes on you realize that you can't exactly do what you set out to do. So I don't think they're very realistic.
Actually, sometimes yes, I do make New Year resolutions because I think at the end of every year when you're starting a new year you need to set a target and whatever it is that you want to accomplish during the year. So when you set these resolutions you actually work towards them. So New Year resolutions are very important, and working towards them also help you in being the responsible person that you are during that year and the years that follow.
What's your take on that?
I could share their various sentiments that they expressed in the video, and I was quite impressed with the lady who said she she wouldn't lie. She hadn't lied the whole year. That's really keeping to the integrity, and she
made a vow.
She made a vow, and I doff off my imaginary hat to her.
Yeah, that she was able to keep that. But I sort of the common thread that ran through was not bothering to do it because they can't. They don't think that it. Yeah. So is it that they're not making realistic resolutions?
It's you know how sometimes you talk about defeating yourself. They have a self-defeatist attitude. So it just seems impossible to them. But let's any of them, for instance, resolve that they will not bath for 5 days. That is there's no way you can keep that kind of resolution before you realize you have put yourself inside the bath because you can't stand yourself.
Your own, yeah.
So let's flip it the other way around and now look for something that is possible to do. And once they see that they have been able to accomplish that thing, and they see it is possible because I make a resolution to do something that is feasible, something that I can actually put myself to work on it consistently, and I can see the improvement on that. They'll change their.
So you have all these issues which worry, but I think that it's what you personally resolve. That resolution must be really, really, really strong to you to want to make sure that you attain. Otherwise, it'll fall.
And what I find happening, I mean, can they imagine what would have happened if, for instance, when they were born, their parents never made any plans to send them to school.
But let me tell you something. Most people have children without planning.
They should, because I mean, things change rapidly, and you have to put the plans in place to enable yourself, make sure that they have the best education available, you know, in wherever you decide that they would go to school. Whatever your means can afford. And so you would need to plan for that. You need to plan for, if you would decide that at least you take 5 days out. For instance, the lady who was talked about growing closer to God. It's a beautiful one. It implies making sure that at least you read 2 chapters a day of your Bible. It is something that you can see yourself doing it. You are setting aside 15 minutes every day to sit down and read your Bible, and then meditate a little to see, okay, so what does this particular verse mean to me personally? When you read where the names are, then you say, the names are beautiful. You know, but you need to plan. You can't do without it. You need to plan and action.
Plan and action. Because a plan without an action is not a plan at all.
No, it's a wish.
It's a wish. That's beautiful. On that note, another commercial break. Viewers will be right back. Welcome back to today's Women's Show. As always, you can join this conversation by going onto our Twitter and Facebook pages. And I'd like to acknowledge our sponsors once more. And they are Anoa Lovely Baby Diapers, Queen's Pride Perfume Rice No Substitute, and Neck Sheen Hair Product for the hair of your life. Now, we've spoken about how we can attain these resolutions, how we can plan towards them. But then, what are the common resolutions that we find?
Well, they pertain in different aspects of our lives, you know, throughout. So it could be for your health, it could be for your marriage, or for your social life, or for your finances, or for your, should I say, feel good in terms of volunteering. It could also be for social work, or it could be for mental in terms of academic.
Now let's take, for example, finances, which are, I think, probably the number one on people's minds on a year-to-year basis.
Exactly.
And that's probably resolved to save more money, not to waste as much money. Now, if that was my resolution, how would you advise that I go about it?
The financial people tell us that there are 2 ways of saving: either increase the income or decrease the expenditure. Or so those are the 2 main ways: increase income, decrease expenditure. If just decrease expenditure without even increasing income, you would have more savings. It's just an automatic one. So the best way to do that is to look at the things that you have in your time, in your life, the things that are must-haves. For instance, there's no way you can say you will not pay your rent, because otherwise the landlord or landlady will throw you out. You can't do without food, but you can look at the type of food you eat or where you eat. For instance, I find it interesting that some people always go and buy food by the roadside, because whether you like it or not, if you cook at home, it's far cheaper than if you go and buy somewhere.
Cheaper and healthier.
Yeah. Then next you go to the things that are nice to have. For instance, if you have 2 cars and really you realize that you can do with 1 car, it's nice to have 2 cars, the flexibility and so on and so forth. But maintaining 2 cars, petrol, and so on and so forth, or 3 cars,
it's double.
It doubles everything. So if you can cut down on one, or reduce the usage of one process, and therefore you can cut down, that reduces your expenditure as well. And then the nice to have, that one, you can cut that out easily. We look at now the income part. For instance, is it possible to have some income flowing in from
extra sources,
from investments, from speaking engagements, from writing a book and getting the royalty income, and even though the years pass, sometimes some places the organization will give you some bonus, and sometimes when we get the bonus, because we don't have any idea for that money, we
just spend it instead of putting it away.
But that bonus wouldn't have made a difference because you're not expecting it. So that particular bonus, you can invest it and get good returns on it.
You have to have 3 sources of income.
Multiple streams of income. Yes,
multiple
definitely.
streams of income. So it's very important that she's doing that. That's really nice. So you have the financial aspect. Then you might come to the bit that most people love to talk about, your relationship. So maybe you're not married, or even if you are married, you want to make a resolution that the year better, you'll have a better relationship with your spouse. You know, you're thinking, what are the things that you would advise? Because you're happily married, I know that for a fact. What are the things that you think a couple can resolve to do in a year that will cement their relationship even stronger?
I think for me, one of the things that Albert and I really practice is the act of affirming each other, you know, because the world can be quite cruel. And so if you know you have someone who believes in you and who affirms you and keeps on telling you that, oh, you are the best, you know, you make my life complete, you know, so speaking kind words to each other would help most all relationships, no matter how good your relationship is. If you believe in each other and affirm each other, that is number one. That's key. Number 2, decide what things you would like to do together. Nice to do together. And then also, one thing that we could also do to cement our relationship in the coming year, or in this year that we entered into, is the opportunity of sharing. Sometimes we feel that it makes us too open when we share our fears and our worries, but in reality, that is why you decided that I'm going with you, or I'm going with that person. So part of it is to share what things are challenging you, or what things have made you really feel, you know, you've accomplished, and then when you accomplish, you celebrate each other. You celebrate the things that you're doing, you know. So it's all open. It all helps in the opening up of the relationship, in sharing the trust. And of course, trust is earned. It is not commanded.
Yeah, it's a delicate fiber in a relationship.
It's a delicate fiber. It is not commanded. It is not you have to no, you have to earn the trust, and therefore you do things that show that you are trustworthy and I can be trusted. You know, it's a give and take. You know,
Now, what about if it comes to bettering your life? Like we said, like you want to sort of go into school. What are the things that you would advise for somebody who has decided that in 2015, like the young lady who says, I want to go back to school, probably want to get a degree, you know, or want to get a master's or something? What would you suggest that they do?
Oh, they should just decide, okay, you want to get a degree in what? Is it related to your present field, or is it a newer field that you want to go into? If it's a new field that you want to go into, what is attractive about that particular field, and what is needed to succeed in that field? Because I'll presume that you go into a new field because you see possibilities there, and the possibilities there, I don't think you want to go in there and simply play around. You also want to succeed. So what are the key things that will help you succeed in that particular field? So you look at what you want to accomplish, where you can get it, what kind of timelines do they have, and does it fit into your present program? If it does, then you gather your resources, if you have the funding to do it, and then you
go ahead and apply. Now, last but not least, people might resolve, like the young lady says, get closer to God. You gave us the advice. You said that if you're going to do that, make sure that you're spending at least 15 minutes reading 2 chapters in the Bible. What about somebody who's decided, and the other girl who said resolved not to lie again, so it's got something to attitude. Now, if you fall off the wagon along the way,
which sometimes happens,
is it such a bad thing?
No, it's not. It's not. It's human. It's human, because sometimes you get distracted. Sometimes you find, like some of them were saying, it's too much of an effort. But the thing is, as I said, if it's too high, then you find it too much of an effort. But if you can see the progress that you are making, small incremental steps that you make in, and you can see the change that is bringing in your life. Even though you may fall off the wagon, because you know that ultimately I want to get 3 seconds off my time. And if I get those 3 seconds off my time, I will be the national best. I may not beat Usain Bolt, but I'll be the national best. And therefore you would resolve to work consistently and conscientiously. So the main thing is that if you do fall off the wagon, it's not a big deal. Just dust yourself off and then start and then continue from where you
left
stopped.
off.
Yeah. If you, for instance, we looked at the finances, and you've been able to save something for some time, and then you realize that you stop being more meticulous about keeping the costs down, and so your costs are spiraling out again. Sit down and then bring the costs under control, because ultimately helps you have some more disposable income at your
disposal.
Thank you. Disposable at
Well, the thing is, I'm Christian as you are. Our God is a God of second chances.
Exactly.
So it doesn't mean that if you start and you sort of falter along the way, that makes you useless as a person.
Totally.
Like you said, dust yourself off and get going. Yeah. But one thing that I picked up here, and I think that I'd like to share with everybody else as well, is that it's not a bad idea to actually gather your children around, and it teaches them planning.
It does.
To actually get each of them individually to write down what they will resolve to do in a particular year.
Yeah.
And then sort of revisit at a point in time.
Yeah.
If we do that, we actually teach them a practice of planning.
That's
planning,
a fantastic thing
so that they can sit. Yeah.
I was actually also brings a program I was listening to this morning on BBC about how 2 children they did a marshmallow test, whereby they were given marshmallows. You had 1 marshmallow at one end and 2 marshmallows at the other end. If you were able to resist taking the marshmallow within a particular time, you got the 2. But if you decided not to resist, you can have the 1 now. So delayed gratification.
Okay.
So some of the children were able to delay their gratification, and therefore they took the 2 later on. Now the test did follow-ups 10 years later, and those who were able to delay their gratification were doing better academically. 20 years down the line, those who delayed their gratification later were doing better in their career. So therefore, teaching our children whilst they are young about these little concepts that are useful.
Yes.
So it's a fantastic idea. Now I'd encourage all our listeners
I think so. I think that it's something that our viewers.
Yeah.
I think that it's good. Even if you as an adult haven't made any resolutions, it's good to plan by all means for everything that you're doing. It's good to plan. But if you haven't actually gone out of your way to plan, at least pull the younger folk along. You know what I mean? Sit your children out, make merry of it. You know, just sit down. It's all part. We're still in the festive season, whether we like it or not. We've got one more day to go before work really starts. So get them round and then decide that this is what we all want to do, and then sort of 6 months later you can come back and say this is what we decided. How good are we at keeping our timeline?
If you were Sith and we said, okay, you were Sith, well done, but I think you can do better. How do you think what do you think you can do to improve your grades? And so that 9 out of 10 they always improve the following year, because we challenged them and said, how do you plan to do better academically? So it helps them.
It's fantastic. It's fantastic. You know, I said I didn't know how I was going to make an hour conversation out of resolutions. I've enjoyed having every moment, having you here every moment. You've enlightened me and actually made me see the importance in planning. And I hope viewers at home as well. It's not just, we're not talking about flimsy New Year's resolutions by losing 20 pounds here and looking the best that you want to do. We're talking about better things for your life, saving money, looking at your health, getting closer to God. There are many things, many serious things that we need to look at. I'd like to thank you for spending time with me, but before you go, I have a quote for you, and this is from Edith Lovejoy Pierce, and it says, "We will open the book. Its pages are blank. We're going to put words on them ourselves. The book is called Opportunity." Fantastic. And its first chapter is New Year's Day.